I'm here today with a very special guest, Mr. Royce Haddad. Is that correct?
You got it.
I got it. He's a personal injury attorney here in Tampa Bay, so we're really excited to talk to you today, Royce.
Thanks for having me.
We just found out that we grew up very close.
We did. I came from Toledo, moved down here right before Hurricane Andrew, and I think you did the same.
The same year we both moved.
Yep.
In 1992.
92, escaping the cold and coming to opportunity down here in Florida.
That's right. No more Toledo and Findlay, Ohio.
No more, just for visits.
Yeah. Toledo was the big city for us.
Detroit and Cleveland were the big cities for us.
So you had to go, if you wanted to go to the mall, we'd have to go to Toledo.
Yep. And if I wanted to go see a football game, I'd have to go to Cleveland.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
Yep.
Now, were you a Browns fan or were you a Bengals fan?
Oh, Browns.
Browns.
Long-suffering cardiac kid Brown fan.
Yes. We still suffer today from that, right?
We do.
Thank God we have the Buccaneers.
Have the Bucks, but I do miss Brian Sipe back in the 70s.
Yeah, I still cheer for the Browns every time they play. I think we're going to hopefully one day we'll make it to the Super Bowl.
One day, hopefully before we die.
Yes, hopefully. Please, Browns, give us a win. Well, since I know you're a personal injury attorney, and this podcast is for business owners, and we had a little talk beforehand about how actually businesses have gotten in trouble by having certain things that happen. Can you give me a little background on like what you do and like some of the give us some examples of some of the cases that you might have had that involved a business?
Sure. I mean, well, the first thing I want to tell you is I'm a business owner as well.
Yes.
So one of the first things they don't teach you in law school is that you come out, you practice law, but you also have to run a business,
right?
Which you're not trained for going into law school. So it's a lot of trial by fire, just like it is in trial work a little bit. So
no business at all, like how to run a practice or none of that?
There is. I mean, the Florida Bar puts out things to help young attorneys starting out and how to run your trust account and marketing and that kind of thing. But the nitty gritty, the day-to-day grind of a business, no one really teaches you that, at least as far as I know.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm a business owner that provides legal services is the way I look at it.
Okay.
So what was your question?
My question is for business. So since this is a business owner podcast, what kind of, I know you have a lot of cases that you had mentioned before that are against business owners of something that might have happened.
Right.
Can you give us a few examples of some of those to start?
Sure. I mean, I represent people who have been injured, and it could be from a car accident, it could be slip and fall, it could be something involving wrongful death, that kind of thing. And businesses get into trouble or issues when they either have like a vehicle or a trucking fleet. They have a physical location like we're here, premises liability, something could happen here, or negligent security is another issue where people and business owners can get into trouble. That law just recently changed, so it makes it actually more favorable for business owners if they're facing a negligent security.
Explain that a little bit more. What do you by negligent security? Sure.
So businesses can be held liable if there is some kind of criminal conduct going on their property, and they fail to take action and protect their customers and the people visiting their establishment. Under the old law, let's say we're here in Clearwater, and your business has had 10 armed robberies, and you do nothing about that, and you don't do anything in terms of surveillance or security lighting or some kind of limited access on your doorway, things like that, and you have customers coming in and another armed robbery goes down and someone gets shot, killed, hurt badly, And you as the business owner are in a superior position to know that, hey, we got a problem here, so I have to do something to protect the public coming in.
Okay.
So that's negligent security. Under the old law, you as a business owner couldn't put the bad actor, the criminal, on the verdict form. So when you go to trial, it's John Doe versus ABC Business, and that would be the verdict form. Was ABC Business negligent in some manner for this criminal act? And if you failed to do something like take protective action or corrective action, I should say, to stop the bad actors from coming on your property and hurting your customers, it would just be, are you, ABC Company, responsible? The law changed this spring, and it's favorable to landowners because now, or business owners, now you can put ABC Company, but you can also put criminal on the verdict form. So if the business or the jury can say, hey, you did what you're supposed to do, or maybe you didn't do quite enough, so we're going to blame you, ABC business owner, 50% to the criminal. So, but the criminal usually is not able to be, you can't collect from a criminal usually. I mean, they're in there robbing you. It's not like they're sitting there with insurance or money that are assets you can go after. So that's why it's beneficial, because for a business owner now, they can put the criminal on the verdict form and deflect some of the potential judgment over to the criminal versus themselves.
Oh, okay. So for like landowners, or if you have property, I have some questions that came up that I was thinking about when you were saying all that. If, say, for example, I can use my place as an example here. I've had a lot of issues with homeless people, like coming on the property, camping out, or going behind my building, or I have a pond behind my building or something like that. What would happen if one of those homeless people like fell in the pond and drowned, or they, were on my property drinking and maybe they hit their head or something? What happens with something? Because that always made me nervous a lot. So we were always trying to get them off of our property. I mean, they all need a place to sleep, but I got nervous about what if something happened to them, that might be my fault. Right.
Well, we can get into the weeds kind of deep on that, but generally there's two aspects to that. You could have, so you have this known homeless problem trespassing on your property.
Yes.
And let's say they started breaking into your building or robbing your patrons or something like that. That could lead to a negligent security type of case where there's bad actors here and you're not doing anything to clear them out. Second thing is, if they get hurt on your property, they could potentially come after you. Okay, when you go onto someone's property, there are different classes of people, that how you classify people when they come onto your property. The highest duty that you owe to a person is someone called a business invitee. Someone coming onto your property for your benefit, coming either buy something or do something or some service. You have the highest duty to those people.
Yes.
Okay. And you need to, the standard is you need to warn or take corrective action of a known problem that you have. And you have a duty to reasonably inspect your property. I walked up the stairs here today to your place. I'm a business invitee. And I think your steps were wooden, but let's assume they're wooden, and I fall through a rotten board, break my ankle.
Right.
That rotten board didn't happen overnight. You walk up those stairs, I don't know how many times a day, a couple of times a day. And, even though you're not purposely inspecting, you should have become aware of a rotten board on your steps coming up here.
Yes.
I break my ankle. I'm probably going to look to you or your insurance company to, hey, I got $50,000 surgery on my ankle now. You should have taken care of that board for $5.
Right.
Okay.
That's why we have brand new stairs out there before we started the podcast.
There you go.
All brand new.
There you go. So trespassers, so business invitee is the top of the scale. A trespasser,
someone that's not supposed to be there,
correct, uninvited trespasser, not supposed to be on your property. They're kind of you still have a duty to those people, but it's a lower duty. You still have to warn them of dangerous items or areas. You can't dig an open pit and leave it there and, hope they fall in and say, oh, too bad you weren't supposed to be here. No, you're still going to be responsible, but you do still have a duty to those people. So the pond, that, if you have children running around, that's a whole other ball game. When you have a pond, that would be considered what we call an attractive nuisance.
Right.
So if there are little kids trespassing on the property and going into the pond and jumping in, or there's gators in there, and you're not doing something to keep the kids off the property, fencing it in.
They don't want to be going in that pond.
Yeah. Well, it would be an attractive nuisance, and then even though the child's a trespasser, you have a heightened duty in that situation.
Right.
So if you have a problem with these people here, you try to control as best you can.
Right.
I've had to do that at my place. Honestly, I've had to put up fencing and iron gates that I close at night for the little porch area because I was having all kinds of problems.
Right. Yeah, we started getting more secure with they always find other ways.
Yep.
Seems like, but putting security cameras when people walk, the lights go on, the cameras will shoot on them.
Yep.
And then we can see, and then we can, it's a lot of times, unless it's late at night when you're sleeping, you don't know what's happening, but.
Right. No, well, I did the same thing.
So does that help a business if they have like the security cameras and the lights and things like that? So say someone did get hurt, but we did everything that we possibly could to, how about the signs, no trespassing,
exactly.
Would that be helpful for them?
Yes. These things we're talking about, the cameras, the motion lighting, fencing, those types of things are all helpful. You don't have a duty to make your property absolutely 100% safe. Key word, and I think you just said it, is reasonable. Reasonable measures, reasonable precautions. There's no way to make everything safe.
No, there's not.
There's nothing. And
the safest home around is not safe.
Correct. And so that's not the standard of the law. It's just, did you take reasonable precautions? Mm-hmm. So, yes, those types of things will help.
Okay. What about signage on cars? Is that something that businesses should be careful with? You know how people put their logos on their cars, and you have more of a chance of getting sued because of that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you're using the vehicle for business, let's say it's a delivery vehicle and you're using it for business purposes, well, it's going to be traced back to your business, and whether you have a sign on there or not is irrelevant, I think.
Right.
If it's your personal car and you're advertising for, some chicken restaurant or something, and you're just doing it because you're getting paid $50, it's not gonna affect the chicken company.
I was just curious about signage. What other kind of examples can you give us?
Well, you have the premises, you have negligent security. Oh, back to the premises issue. If someone is hurt on your property, what I would tell you, especially if you have surveillance cameras, is the business owner, preserve it. Yep, you have a duty not to spoil any evidence. It's called the spoliation doctrine. And normally if someone came in and they were hurt on your property, I'd send a letter of representation to you and say, preserve all the evidence, electronic, whatever you have, pictures. It can be helpful, obviously, to a plaintiff's attorney, but it can also be helpful to a business owner to defend the case. Occasionally, you get a case where it's just outright fraud, and the video will show it. So in that case, it's very helpful for the business owner and their insurance company to defend the case when they got video of the incident.
Right.
So you just want to preserve everything, take pictures. If there's a key employee that saw something, maybe do a quick little interview and jot down some notes of what they saw, what they did, that kind of thing. the other thing is, if there is a problem on your property, and let's say you have a pothole or something on your property, someone falls in it, gets hurt, you can fill in the pothole without fear of repercussions from a civil lawsuit. You can make remedial measures, it's called subsequent remedial measures. And the idea is you don't want to hold a business or a property owner responsible for, or you being able to use it as evidence against them if they fix a problem. So the law wants things to be safe. So if you're making something safe on your property, it shouldn't be used against you in trial and say, oh, Kelly filled in that pothole right after my client fell. No, that's evidence of her guilt. No, it doesn't work that way. So we want people and owners to fix problems as they arise on the property.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
So you don't have to do that. So I would be, as a business owner, if something happens on the property, document it, preserve evidence. If it's a bad problem, fix it. And don't destroy evidence, because then that can be used against you. I have a case going on now against a large company, and it was a slip and fall, and it wasn't just happened to fall in an area where the video wasn't capturing this little 10-foot square foot area of the store, and that's where my client fell. And we go into litigation, we file a lawsuit, and then we're entitled to go onto the property to do testing, check the floor, slip friction test, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And we had requested over many months, hey, can we come on and look at the floor, get our expert out there? And they delayed. I get a call, we get an email from the attorney, hey, it's going to be too expensive to do what you guys want to do, so you can't come on and do it. We're like, well, all right, well, we'll file a motion with the judge, and it's going to get granted, which ultimately it was. And in that interim period when we were trying to get an agreement to go on and do the testing, the store decided to change all of their flooring. They did a complete remodel. So now the evidence that we needed to show that this area of the floor was in some kind of defective condition is gone, no longer exists. So now we're going to be going out there. Actually, we're going out, I think, Thursday. We're going to go take our expert out there, and it's going to be just an exercise in futility. He's going to go out there and say, well, this is all changed. I can't do anything. So then we go in front of the judge, and then we're going to ask for a spoliation ruling, where we say, hey, they destroyed the evidence. We told them to preserve it. They didn't. They went and ripped out the floor. So now we can ask for a ruling saying, hey, they spoiled the evidence. So what we think it should have showed, we get that instruction saying, hey, this was probably not a good area of the floor. It was somehow defective.
Right.
So don't destroy things, because it can backfire.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you're getting new flooring for a reason.
Well, yeah, they'll say it was because, we had to remodel the store or bring it up to code. I don't honestly think, well, I don't know. I don't think they remodeled the store just because of this incident. I think they were doing it, and the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, and they screwed up.
Okay.
They screwed up. I like to not attribute everything as a nefarious motive. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, that's good. And then most businesses, obviously, you would advise to have insurance.
Yes, absolutely. You don't want to be underinsured.
Yeah. I've heard of people like, I'm going to self-insure.
You can do that, but you never know what risks are out there, and do you want to be the person handling the risk?
Right.
On a catastrophic injury or something like that? Some people have that risk tolerance. I certainly don't.
No, me neither.
Yeah. So, insurance is good. We've had situations where companies have been underinsured, and then we ask for personal contribution over and above their insurance limits. We just wrapped up a case where it was a landscape company, and their driver injured our client pretty badly, and they had very minimal insurance. It was actually shocking.
Yeah, for a landscape company.
Yeah, it was super low. And we ended up, you do your research, and we told the insurance company, hey, we'll settle for your policy limits, but your insured is going to have to kick in some money. So that's always something you need to talk to your insurance agent and make sure that you're appropriately covered.
Right. And you're covered when you're, like if you're an office like mine, I know if your employees are going out to other locations and things like that, that you have those policies to protect as well.
Yep. And that brings up another, well, there's two things. If you have automobiles or delivery vehicles or something like that, and you have a policy that provides, let's say, $250,000 worth of coverage if you injure somebody, if you have an umbrella policy, make sure that your umbrella policy make sure your normal bodily injury policy limits meet what your umbrella policy requires. Usually umbrella policies kick in at $500,000, sometimes more. And if you're only insured for $250,000, you have now chosen to insure yourself for $250,000. And I've seen that happen.
Okay.
Where they're like, oh, I have $250,000 and I have an umbrella policy, I'm covered, I'm great. And I'm like, no, you're not, because you lowered your limits from the $500,000 and your umbrella won't kick in until $500,000. So he had to come up with $250,000. Insurance paid $250,000. He had to pay $250,000 out of pocket. Then his umbrella paid the rest of the damages. So you have to watch that.
So it's good to go right in with the $500,000.
Well, yeah, I mean,
whatever the umbrella is, make sure that your policy goes up.
Yep,
right.
bumps up that. Yep, bumps
Okay.
up to that limit. So,
That's great advice.
yeah, because otherwise you're in another self-insurance
Yeah.
mode. And
People are looking at don't try to save money on that.
No. It's one area of liability. Kind of, if you're sending out, as a business owner, you're sending out people to people's homes, your employees.
Okay.
Do some background checks on who you're sending out, because you don't want to send a known criminal to go into someone's house to install their dishwasher, and then they do something to the homeowner where they're installing the dishwasher.
Have you had cases like that before?
Yes. Yep.
So like involving theft?
Yep. Well, it's sexual assault, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
even scarier.
Yeah. So a lot of bad stuff.
Okay.
There's bad people out there.
Yeah. No, you definitely want to make sure that you do that kind of check on. Wow, that's really scary.
Yes. So you just got to make sure who you're sending out to your customers' homes are up to the task.
Right. Because there's a lot of like women that, even young, well, not young children, but like my 18-year-old, for example, if she lets somebody in, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah. No, yeah. When you hire a company to come in and do something in your home, you're trusting that company has taken the proper precautions.
Right.
Right. You can't go through life not trusting anybody or anything all the time. So you got to make sure, though, that the trust is placed on the right people. And so as a business owner, you got to protect your customers.
Right. And you also want to make sure that you're dealing with a licensed and insured company as well. Because if they get hurt on your property,
yes, yeah, that's a whole.
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah, you get into workers' comp stuff, but if you're having major things done, remodeling your house or something, make sure they got liability insurance, workman comp insurance, all that stuff that will protect you as well, the homeowner as well.
Yeah.
So
'cause I've heard some horror stories about that, but I think the state of Florida is starting to get a lot better with licensed contractors.
But
they crack down on that pretty hard.
Yeah, I've seen that in the news. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. So that's the smart thing to do. Let's see what else. I have some other questions here for you. If I'm looking to educate myself and also to find like a really good personal injury attorney, how would I go about doing that? How do you recommend finding a good attorney? I guess I can call you.
No, you can call me, of course. Well, I mean,
because there's a lot of personal injury attorneys out there. So.
Can't swing a dead cat without hitting one. I always, when I'm looking for a referral or something, I was referred to you by a personal referral. Mm-hmm. So I always like to go to somebody who's had experience with the company or the service because it's already kind of been vetted for me.
Yeah.
So I always say personal recommendations. I mean, I have people obviously advertise heavily. That's not my business model. That's their business model. I try to do a good job for my clients and turn them into my walking billboards, if you will. So I just think personal referral, personal experience is probably the best way to go.
What are some good questions somebody can ask when interviewing? Do they have an interview process? Because I've never hired a personal injury attorney before, like when they're trying to pick who they're going to work with.
Yeah, I mean, on an initial meeting, like my office, obviously I'm interviewing you as the potential client, vetting the case, that kind of thing. And clients will ask, obviously, questions of me, how long I've been doing it, how often you go to court, the big one is who's handling my case, and will you return my phone call?
Right.
So it's, I'm a medium-sized law firm, and I always say, hey, well, the attorney you sign up with in my firm is your attorney. And if you have questions, call, and you'll get a call within either that day, you'll get a call back if we're not available, or we have a 24-hour rule where if I'm not available, you get put on the calendar, you get a call back. So that's always the big thing is who's my attorney going to be, and you're going to pick up the phone when I call you.
Right.
So those are
because you have to work pretty quickly, right, in most cases.
Well, yeah, at the beginning, especially if you got to preserve evidence, like we kind of talked about before, preservation of evidence, photos, and, medical care, that kind of thing. Those things are fast and furious on the front end of a case, for sure.
How soon after does all that take place?
Depends on when you come in and see me. Insurance companies start working against you right away, I'll tell you that.
They do.
Oh, yeah. They
get right to work.
Yep. Because they're the first people to get, besides like emergency services, the next call someone usually makes is to the insurance company.
Right.
So they're ahead of the game usually.
Because that's who you're usually going up against is the insurance company.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yep.
So I think you gave us some great advice for us business owners and just if something happens, like what to do. Because I think a lot of people, if you haven't ever gone through something, I think that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have known all this unless you told me. Like I'm not knocking wood, I don't need to have one.
Well, I'm glad you fixed your stairs anyway.
Yes, I did. They were actually pretty rickety before too. But if I knew I was going to turn this into a business, I had to have it all nice and ready to go.
Yes.
But on the other side, this is just a couple questions as far as the learning curves side of it. This goes. I always like to learn about my client's business and what they do and have them give some advice. And then the other side is just, you've had your business for a really long time. Sounds like just like me.
It's been a while.
So we've had a lot of like trial and error, I'm sure, learning curves, things that have happened along the way that you didn't know, and all of a sudden you were like, oops, well, I learned from that. Do you have any certain learning curves you can share with my audience today?
Yeah, I don't know how profound it is, but when I first started out, I was talking to a guy, and he asked me, "What's your definition of profit?" So I'm going to ask you, what's your definition of profit?
My definition of profit is after all your expenses are paid off and all your payroll and everything's paid off, whatever's left.
Yep, I was told that's the wrong answer. Most people will define profit as what's left over I get to keep, which is what you just told me.
Right.
Profit is supposed to be a defined outcome that you're planning on. So when you are running your business, you're not just hoping to have $100,000 at the end of the day. I hope that's left over. You need to plan, how am I going to achieve this mark of $100,000 profit? So you plan your business plan, your expenses, your marketing, sales, whatever it is, on how am I going to achieve this planned outcome of this profit that I want. So that was, changed my thinking, flipped it upside down actually, because I'm thinking, oh, well, profit, I'm going to work my butt off, see what happens at the end of the year, and see what's the outcome. That's my profit. No, you have to plan your outcome and your profit. So that was one of the biggest things. You know how many businesses
probably do not do that?
Probably a lot of them, because I didn't do it.
Well, I think what you just said is very smart, because it's kind of understanding how am I going to get there and make that happen.
Right. You have to you kind of engineer it backwards. If you want to make X dollars, how am I going to get there? Mm-hmm. If you just leave it to what's left over, you're just leaving it to luck or chance or happenstance at that point.
Right.
So
that's a good one.
Yeah. The other good one I learned was don't react, respond. So in my business, I'm in litigation, sometimes I get heated, or client comes in angry about something that they shouldn't be angry about or whatever, and your natural potential instinct is to react right there. It's kind of like the rule of, before I send this email, let me sit on it for a day.
Yeah.
So you don't
I've gotten in trouble by sending the heated email too soon.
I have too. Yeah. So the biggest breaks on myself are just don't react to this.
Right.
Let me get the information. Let me think about it, and let me think of a response. And that usually that's served me well. That has served me well.
I've had to rewrite email 5 or 10 different times just to completely get it to where it was probably good enough to send.
It usually ends up being a 2-sentence email versus the 2-paragraph of why you're an idiot.
Right. This whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yep. Sometimes I still might have to learn from that every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, say all these things.
Oh, I'm telling you, in litigation, it can get, you want to fire something off to a defense attorney or an adjuster, and it's like, no, let me just calm down. Let me think about this and just respond, versus a reactive email or phone call or whatever.
That will save you a lot, because you can get, I've had to learn the wrong way of doing that as well.
Yep.
The passive aggressive comes out sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the personality trait you need to control the most, I think, in business. Yes,
you got to respond, plan your outcomes for profit. What else have I kind of learned?
It's a good one.
Yeah, in positive thinking has also been helpful for me. When you type into Google, you type a question, right? And you start typing something, and it will autofill. Google already knows what you're going to ask.
Usually does, yes.
It already knows, and it's going to kick out the responses. Your brain does the same thing. So if you start asking or thinking negative questions, your brain is going to reinforce your thought process. And the example is when you buy a new car. You buy a Honda Civic. The next thing you know, all you see on the road, Honda Civics. That's your brain in tune with the decision processes that you've made, wants to validate, hey, I made a great purchase. Look at all these other Civics out here. And it's the same way with the negative thought attitude. If you wake up and say, that's Monday, it's raining, this is going to be a crappy day. You're going to drive to work, you're going to spill coffee on yourself. You're going to hit every red light. I knew it was going to be a crappy day. You get in the office and something doesn't just go right. I knew it was going to be a crappy day. Meanwhile, your brain is missing all the great stuff that happened that day. I made it to work alive. I got business. I got employees. Got a new case today. All that other stuff goes by the wayside because your brain wants to please you of, yep, you're right, Royce. It was a crappy day. It's raining, spilled coffee. This happened. And so just don't ask those negative questions and you won't fall victim to that.
That's a good one.
So that's just a little,
yeah,
I don't know, psychological trick. Sometimes when just things start piling up, it's just like, I'm not going there. Not going to think about it.
Right.
So.
That's smart. Because if you go down that road, you can tend to get really depressed. And then that's when one bad thing happens after another. And there's something to be said about the power of positive thinking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're a business owner, you can't be, if you're an entrepreneur, you can't be in that negative mindset of, oh, everyone's out to get me or this just happened to me. You can't do it. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed.
Right. So. Yeah. Because I think a lot of us business owners are accidental business owners. We just kind of fall into it, not meaning to, and then, but it's that power of positive thinking too, that, oh, I can do this, I can do that, even though something that you had no intention of doing, but telling yourself that you can, you'd be surprised at how far you can go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm an accidental business owner too. Like I said, I came out of law school. I'm a lawyer. That's what you think of. You're a lawyer. And then next thing you know, you got to run a law firm. You got to worry about the insurance, employees, payroll, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that was, I guess, the last thing I kind of learned was, as a business owner, I'm always trying to work on the business versus in the business. That's a tough balance, especially for me.
I struggle with that too.
Yep. I mean, right now I'm working on my business. I'm here talking to you.
Yes, you are.
Exposing myself, right? But I'm not. I'm working in the business. I'm back there drafting a motion or a lawsuit or something like that. As a lawyer, it's very hard because I got to work in the business, but to grow the business, I got to be working on it.
Right.
And sometimes it's very hard to get your head up out of doing the work to do the other stuff, the management stuff, marketing and whatever. They
say that owners of companies should be working more on the business than in the business if you're going to truly be successful.
Correct. For me, it's very difficult because it's hard to separate what I have to do as a lawyer and compartmentalize that, and then I got this whole other job over here working on it.
The well can dry up quickly if you're not.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yep. You always have to be moving forward, or otherwise you're gonna get left behind.
That's right.
For sure.
Very true. Well, you've given us some really great advice today. Thank you so much for being on my show. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you.
So, Royce, can you tell everybody, if I'm looking for a personal attorney and I want to hire you, how can I go about finding you?
You can Google me, or you can call my office, 727-299-0449.
Okay, great. We're going to have his number and his website and email, everything in the show notes. So if you have any questions, you can email him afterwards. Or if you have a problem or get in an accident, he's the one to call. And he'll be able to help you out. And also, don't forget to subscribe if you liked what you heard today. Thanks a lot, and have a good day. At CEA Marketing, we take your business, your passion, and your why, and we sell it. If you're unsure where to start marketing your company, CEA Marketing is here to help. Our team at CEA has tons of experience and top-notch training, which helps you take all the stress and confusion out of marketing your own business. After years of working with large companies like Pulte Homes and Metro Places, we guarantee the successful implementation of a marketing strategy.